multiply polynomials in this chapter. That's what we'll do. So first, what is a polynomial? Here are some examples. The basic definition is a collection of algebraic terms separated by pluses or minuses. It's the sum or difference of some algebraic terms where your powers of any of your variables are whole numbers. Okay, so here I have a couple. First one, 12x to the fourth, that's a polynomial. Poly, of course, refers to more than one, but there is one exception. That this first term is called a monomial. It's just one term, okay, but still classified as a polynomial. Here's a polynomial with three terms. Right, 4x squared minus 3x plus 5. Here's a polynomial with two terms, x squared minus 9. And another polynomial with two terms. Okay, 3a squared b squared minus 4ab. Just two terms here. It's this term and this term separated by that minus sign. Okay, so that's just a brief discussion about what a polynomial is. What we have to do is multiply. Okay, the first two examples I have here you already know how to do. 4x squared times 3x to the fourth. How do I deal with these? I multiply the two coefficients. I get 12. And I multiply x squared by x to the fourth, which of course is x to the sixth. Right? Easy. Number two, same idea. A monomial times a monomial. That's one term times one term. Negative 12ab times 4a squared b cubed. How do I multiply these? Negative 12 times 4 is negative 48. A times a squared is a to the third. B times b cubed is b to the fourth. The shortcut there is to add your exponents. There's ones here, right? Okay, a little bit harder. I'm going to multiply a one term by a two term. Monomial times a binomial. How do I do that? I distribute. This is something you've done before as well. 4x, I'm going to have to distribute that here, and then I'm going to have to multiply it here. Right? So 4x times x is 4x squared. And then 4x times negative 6, negative 24x. Okay, easy stuff, right? Easy chapter. Negative x times this three-term polynomial. So again, I'm just going to distribute the negative x through. Right? I'm going to multiply negative x by that, and then I'm going to multiply negative x by that, and then I'm going to multiply negative x by that, and then I'll be done. Okay. So let's take a look at what we get. Negative x times x squared is negative x cubed. Negative x times negative 2x is positive 2x squared. And then finally, negative x times 5 is negative 5x. That's just the distributive property, something you've worked with before. Okay, so now for something a little bit different, I'm going to multiply two binomials, right? A two-term polynomial and a two-term polynomial. Okay, so the acronym we use is called FOIL, if it helps you remember. What you do is, the answer isn't just x squared minus 12. You don't just multiply x times x and 3 times 4. Okay, that's a common mistake, so don't do that. You have to multiply x by both of these guys, and then negative 3 by both of these guys. Okay, so we use the acronym FOIL. So FOIL, the F stands for first. That's this term times this term, right? That's my first two terms. So that's the F in FOIL. So we all know that x times x is x squared. Okay. And then I'm going to multiply the two outer terms next. That is the x times the negative 4. Okay, so that's my O in FOIL because those are the outside terms. Okay, so x times negative 4, of course, negative 4x. Okay, so I multiply the x by these two. Now I got to multiply the negative 3 by these two, right? So I'm going to multiply the negative 3 by the first term in the second binomial. So that's the two inside terms, right? They're on the inside. That's the I in FOIL. Negative 3 times x is the I in FOIL. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And then finally, to finish spelling FOIL, we need an L, right? L, that is negative 3 times the negative 4. That gives me my L in FOIL. And that's just the way to remember to make sure I multiply all the terms, right? And negative 3 times negative 4, of course, is positive 12. Okay? So now I'm not done at this point. I still got to do a little bit of work. If you'll notice, these guys are like terms, right? Negative 4x minus 3x is negative 7x. So I can do one more step for this example. Okay? So far so good. It's not too bad. I just have 4 more examples. Okay? So again, I'm going to FOIL here. So we'll go a little bit quicker this time. 2x times x, 2x squared. That's the f in FOIL. 2x times 7. Those are the two outside terms. That's 14x. Negative 1 times x, negative 1x. And negative 1 times 7 minus 7. Okay? Combine like terms. And I get my final answer, 2x squared. 14x minus 1x is 13x minus 7. Okay? Be careful with number 7, this example. What I always want you to do first is to rewrite that 4x plus 1 squared. I see a common mistake, 16x squared plus 1 as the final answer. It's incorrect. 4x plus 1 quantity squared means 4x plus 1 times itself, right? 4x plus 1 times 4x plus 1. So if I write it like that, then I can see that I still have to do this FOIL process. Okay, 4x times 4x is 16x squared. So this is part of your answer. Okay, and then I get my outside term, 4x times 1 is 4x. My inside term, 1 times 4x, which is also 4x. And then my last term, 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, I combine those and I get 8x. So my final answer, 16x squared plus 8x plus 1. Okay, next example. FOIL. Same thing. You might recognize something going on here, but let's just FOIL, see what happens. X squared. Outside, negative 5x. Inside, positive 5x. 5 times x, positive 5x. Last, negative 25. That's the 5 times negative 5. Okay. So you'll notice what happens in this case, and you can look out for these. Whenever you have the same numbers here and here, x5, x5, and then one's a plus, one's a minus, what's going to happen, this will always happen, is that the middle term should cancel out. Okay? That is negative 5x plus 5x, that's 0. Right? So I'm just going to cross that out. And then I'm left with, in this example, a simplified product, a result of the multiplication, and that's just x squared minus 25. Okay? Alright, moving on. So now my last example is probably maybe the hardest one. I have a binomial times a trinomial, that's 2 terms times 3 terms. And if I'm going to do this, I have to do something similar to FOIL. There's no acronym for it because I guess it would just be too long. Basically what I have to do is take this x and multiply it by these 3 terms, and then take the negative 1 and multiply it by these 3 terms. Okay, that of course will give me 6 terms, and then I look to combine like terms. Okay, so let's do that. X times 2x squared is 3x to the third. Or, I'm sorry, 2x to the third. X times negative 4x, negative 4x squared. X times 1 is x. Remember, you don't have to draw these arrows if you don't want. It just kind of helps me see what I'm doing. And take the negative 1 and multiply it by all these numbers. That's, of course, just going to change the sign of all of those. Negative 1 times 2x squared minus 2x squared. Negative 1 times negative 4x plus 4x. And negative 1 times 1, negative 1. Okay, So I've done with the multiplication. Now I just got to combine like terms. So I see that I have two x squared terms. So I'm going to circle them. Include the sign in front of it. Negative 4x squared and negative 2x squared. I'm going to bring those two guys together. And then I can also see that I have two x terms that I can combine. So I got plus, that's a little messy, that's okay, plus x plus 4x. Okay? So bring these guys together and I get my final answer down here. 2x cubed doesn't have any like terms, so he stays at 2x cubed. Minus 4x squared minus 6x squared is minus 4x squared minus 2x squared is negative 6x squared. X plus 4x is 5x, positive. And minus 1 doesn't have any friends either. Okay, so this is my final answer: 2x cubed minus 6x squared plus 5x minus 1. Okay, so do some homework, just practice a bunch of those. This isn't a very difficult chapter. In the next chapter, we're going to go backwards. For example, I will give you this, and I'll want this as an answer: 2x minus 1 times x plus 7. That's called factoring. We'll be doing the opposite of this. Okay, that's what we have to look forward to in the next chapter. But for now, practice your multiplication.